later. I'm so excited. So, first of all, welcome everyone to tonight's call. This is, I basically wanted, I'm going to be honest, this is like a call for selfish reasons. I know Ryan is super, super smart and knows tons about nutrition and the science of our nutrition. And basically, I'm obsessed with our amazing product, how it works in the body. And I really feel like there are people who don't understand the true depth and power of our nutrition system. So this is like the total nerd alert of nerd alert in all calls. We're not going to talk about 24 grams of protein. We're not going to talk about the basics. We're going to be nerdaholics and just let it rip. I'm going to ask Ryan a few questions, like burning things that I really want to know, but I'm just going to let him delve into the science behind why this product is so amazing that you would want to put it into your body every day. So Ryan and I actually met for the first time on the cruise, I believe. I mean, I knew who you were, but that's the first time we shook hands. Hi, I'm Lindsay. Hi, I'm Ryan. And we were both on the cruise that we won with Isagenix, the Isoderby. It was so much fun. And Ryan is a former Division I college athlete and was recognized as a top academic All-American, which is an incredible accomplishment. You have to be really smart and really good at your sport to do that, for college football in 2002. He went on to earn a doctorate degree in health sciences, and he became an exercise science professor at Montana State University. He owned a fitness and rehabilitation business for the last 6.5 years and has coached several thousand people to health transformations with nutritional rebalancing. And he and his wife, Becca, I love doing events with Becca. She's so passionate. And they have worked together in their business. And they have an 11-year-old boy, Bridger, and a 9-year-old Brooke, and a new puppy named Maui. So I am just so excited to have you here, Ryan. Thank you so much for being willing to do this call tonight. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with my very first question. And my first question for you is, what do you think is the most misunderstood thing about our nutrition? Like, what do you think, people are just missing the mark on why it's so important? What would you say to that?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. So, typically people are bringing in so much baggage when they decide to say yes to a system like we have with Isagenix. And that is baggage from years and years and years of things that they've heard from the media, things they've heard from friends, things they've heard from family, coworkers, colleagues, you name it, and as well as their own experiences, right? So their experiences with trying to get healthy, trying to get fit, and trying to maintain it. And they wouldn't be coming to this if all the things that they've done in the past had actually continued to work for them, right? They're coming because the things that they've tried in the past on some level haven't worked, right? And so they're coming here thinking, well, is this just going to be, another one of those things that I've tried? And so there's a little bit of anxiousness around that they bring into it, and a little bit of skepticism typically as well. I know I was there. Are there any other, people who started out as a major skeptic coming into this, right? And that was me. I mean, some of the baggage that I brought into this was, you can imagine as a, Division I college athlete, that I had all kinds of supplements being thrown my way and pushed my way from varieties of different people. And I tried a lot of them. And guess what? Most of them completely wrecked my gut. I mean, completely wrecked my gut. And I didn't understand it because a lot of my fellow players on the team with me could use some of the same products and they could do great with them. And I would use them and I'd be in the bathroom all day. It would just be wrecking me. And so I was like, what in the world? I guess I just can't do this, right? And so supplements, anything that's not just a whole food isn't for me. And so, that brought my own skepticism into this. So that's typically what people are bringing into this, is that Maybe it's a dieting history if you're a person who's always been trying to lose weight in different ways, or you're bringing in, you know, like an athlete like myself, you're bringing in some baggage from maybe some supplements you've tried in the past that didn't agree with you, right? And so everyone typically starts on some level as a skeptic to some degree. But that's what I love about this, is that the people who are continuing to do this, like I have, like Lindsay has for years, and just love it even more the longer that we do it. You know, most of us started out as skeptics, and now we're the biggest advocates. And you can't deny the results that you get from something like this. I just want to show you this because sometimes, you know, the results speak so much louder than anything that I could say.
That's
right?
all you got, Ryan? That's it? Just a six pack? That looks amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah, and so I couldn't deny that. So actually, I didn't bring in you would think as an exercise science professor and all the degrees and all the things, my background, that I would think, okay, I'm gonna research everything that I possibly can about this nutrition. I'm gonna read every article. I'm gonna try to pick this thing apart. You would think that that's what I would do, wouldn't you? If you were, you know, sharing this with somebody like myself.
Yes.
I actually realized that was like the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do was to put it in my body and try it and see what would happen. Yeah. And hey, if I liked it and it worked for me, I'd keep doing it. If I love it, I'd do it forever, maybe even share it with other people. Yeah. Right? So that's what I brought into it, even though I was a skeptic as well. Right? So I was part skeptic and part saying, hey, the best way to research it is to try it. Right? So I think that's something that we need to remember if you're people on here who do share this with other people and introduce Isagenix to others, is that most of them were just like you. They were just like you. They were just like me. They bring in some skepticism. And at the end of the day, my biggest recommendation for people when I'm sharing this with them or they're asking me about it, I say, you know, I can help try to answer, you know, a number of your questions, but neither of us is really going to know if this is going to work for you until you put it in your body, right? It's got to go in the mouth, down the hatch. You got to do it consistently. You got to, you know, cross your T's and you got to dot your I's with the system, and you know, lean in for help once you get started with it, and let that be your method of researching it, right? So then naturally for me, after I was getting those types of results, then my exercise science professor brain was like, how is this working? How is this different? I've never had an experience like this before in my body with results as quickly and as dramatically as this. And so then I said, well, now I want to actually do some legitimate research besides just putting it in my body. I want to continue that, but I'm gonna dig into it. And what I found was that all the false beliefs, all the walls that I had put up prior to going into this, fully expecting to get my full money back at the end of the month. That was my plan. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this for a month. It's not going to work. I'm going to save my family money on food for the month, our food budget. Right. That's what I told my wife when I came home with it, right? But we bring in these false beliefs, and I did as well. And so some of the false beliefs that people bring to a system like this are, number one, is that this is just another diet, and it's just about calories. So the reason that people are getting results like this are because they are just reducing calories, just like any other type of diet out there, right? And so that's false belief number one. And the reality is that this is the exact opposite of a diet. If you do it in the right way. If you do it in the right way. And one of the things that I see, even in Isagenix, some of you on the call here right now, is you actually bring the diet mentality into using this nutrition.
My gosh. Okay, I have to interrupt you because my next question, and you're going right into it, I don't even have to ask. I love the vibing. My next question is be like, how do you get people to not look at it like a diet? That was literally my next question. You're already just heading right into it. But perfect. I completely agree with you because, Ryan, we relate so much. I actually wasn't necessarily skeptical to try the product because I had tried a bunch of things and nothing worked. But when it started to happen in my body, I was reading every research article on intermittent fasting and cleansing and what that does to your body and the science and the videos. And I went nuts, exploding my head with the science behind intermittent fasting. But I agree with you 100%. I think the number one mistake that people make is talking too much about it being a diet. So keep going. I want to hear more about how you crack that.
Yes. So there's a huge difference. Now listen to me here. There's a huge difference. You're probably going to want to write this down. There's a huge difference between eating less all the time. So just reducing your caloric intake and eating less all the time versus eating nothing some of the time and then eating till you're completely satisfied the rest of the time. Huge difference, right? So you got that? So there's a big difference between eating less, just reducing caloric intake, eating less all the time versus eating nothing some of the time and eating till you're satisfied the rest of the time. And I don't know about you all, but have any of you ever been on a calorie counting type of diet, some sort of a diet where you have to count points or you have to count calories, right? You got to maybe, anyone ever had one of these?
Yeah.
Food scale, right? Just a little secret. Just a little secret. I've never used this food scale.
It's just on your desk.
I bought it to show it on Zooms like this of why I don't do this. Not that it's a problem if you choose to do this and get really, scientific about it. But I am the type of person where if they said on this system, I was going to have to weigh my food, count all the calories and all the different macros, track it all in an app, and constantly be at the grocery store, be Tupperwaring out meals, for 6 times a day to eat, and, be going from eating on plates this big to eating on plates this big. If they said that's what I was going to have to do, I'm out. If I was going to have to count anything, I'm out. Because I refuse to do that, right? But look, if you're going on the typical diet where you just eat less all the time, you literally have to count in order to make sure that you're in a deficit to get some sort of a result. However, here's the opposite. If you do what we do with Isagenix, which is for some of the time basically eating nothing with the exception of, Cleanse for Life and some snack wafers and whatnot on a day, and then you eat till you're satisfied on the other days, and you're not counting anything, you're just having a couple complete meal replacements, and you're having a regular food meal, maybe a snack or two here or there, right? And for different people, it may look a little different. If you have a bigger guy or someone who works out really intensely, they may need to eat a little with their shake, for instance, and have a bigger meal even, right? So there's some variability there. But if you're doing that, where you're eating nothing on some of the time and then eating till you're satisfied the rest of the time, you don't have to count anything because you're naturally going to get into your deficit so that you can be burning that extra fat. But without counting nothing whatsoever, right? And so that was one of the things that attracted me to this as a system to help get my lean body back and to get my physique back and all the things I was looking to do was, I don't have to count anything? Okay, I'm in. I'll try it, right? So that's another big difference between this versus dieting. Right. So what happens when you just eat less all the time is people think, so check this equation out here. This might be backwards for you. Is that backwards for you guys?
No.
It's backwards for me, but I'm looking at so body fat equal to calories in minus calories out. So this is true. This is actually a true equation, right? However, there's so many misconceptions around how this works because the assumptions that people have is that, all I have to do is just eat less. So calories in need to go down and calories out need to go up. And then I can move this in the right direction. I can reduce my body weight, reduce my body fat. But what people don't realize is that when you reduce how much you're eating, you just reduce calories in, you eat less all the time. What do you think the body's going to do? What do you think it's going to do to the calories out, which is your basal metabolic rate?
No, slow it down.
Exactly. It's going to accommodate and it's going to reduce the calories out. And we see it in the research. This This is dozens and dozens of research studies that show that if you reduce the calories in, it might be a matter of a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. What's going to happen is your basal metabolic rate is going to drop to exactly match the lower amount of caloric intake that you're doing on a daily basis. So at that point, you cannot burn any more body fat. Because if you reduce your calories again, then the basal metabolic rate will drop down as well. So kind of think about it like this. It's like if say that you were making $100,000, am I still there?
Yeah.
Say you were making $100,000 per year. Yeah, I'm on the right network. All right. So say you're making $100,000 per year. What are most people going to spend?
Probably most of it.
Probably about $100,000 a year, right? In the US, a little more actually, to be honest, right? Because we're all in debt, most people, right? So, but you're probably going to at some point gravitate up and end up spending $100,000 a year, right? So now let's say that you get a raise. So now you're making $150,000 a year. What are you probably going to do over time, within a month, a few months? You might be like, oh, I'm going to save more. I'm going to put some away. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Yeah, right. You're going to increase your spending, and now you're going to be living the little bit better lifestyle. You're going to be spending $150,000 per year, right? So this is like if you start eating a lot more, right? Because the opposite is true too. If you increase your calories in, guess what your body does to the calories out? It increases it. And what people don't realize this, it increases it to match it. It might happen within a month, a few months, different for different bodies, but it's going to increase. You're going to be burning, your basal metabolic rate actually revs up. Right? It's like your body has this body weight set point, like this thermostat, where it wants to keep you there. And that's driven by a number of different factors, hormone, other things. We're not going to get into that right now. It's not the time, place for that on this call. But now let's look at it the other way. So now let's say that you're making $150,000 a year. Now your job gets cut. You got to find a new job. And now the new job is only $50,000 a year. So now what do you think your body's going to do?
Gonna fight it.
It's going to conserve. What do you think you're going to do? Are you still going to spend $150,000 a year when now your job only pays you $50,000 a year? Yeah. Absolutely not. You don't want to go in debt and starve and potentially die, right? So you're going to reduce your caloric expenditure down, or your expenditure from your income down to match your new $50,000 a year paycheck, right? So that's the same thing that will happen if you treat isogenics like a diet. Right. And I see it all the time because people will stop doing this. People will stop doing this. Yeah. And have I stopped doing this? Yes, I did stop it. Not anymore. I did for a while though, because I was like, you know what? I think I can get by without having to do this. Yeah. I might be able to not have to do the fasting. I might not have to do the fasting, cleansing, detox, whatever you want to call it. Right. So I did that for a while. And guess how I felt? Incredibly cold. You know why? That's what happens when you're on a diet. I was just doing the shake days. And my caloric intake was lower than what it should have been by just doing the 2 shakes and a regular meal. And I just did that, eating less all the time for a long period of time. And so my body accommodated. My body didn't want to die. Just like I didn't want to go in debt when my income went down to $50,000. So I stopped spending $150,000. Your body's going to stop spending the calories. And it's going to try to conserve. When you just diet and decrease your caloric expenditure and do that all the time. Eventually it's going to match it. You will not make any further progress. You'll gradually start regaining the weight back. Plus, when you diet for a long period of time, your hormones that cause you to be hungry go into a direction that makes you cannot resist it. No matter what you do, you will have to start eating more because your body will force you to do it hormonally. Yeah. So this is why, like on The Biggest Loser show. Anyone seen The Biggest Loser show? Right? Remember that? So there was a study done on it in one of the seasons. And what happened was the average weight loss over I think it was like 6.5, 7 months on this ranch. Right, where they're doing extreme caloric reduction, and then they're significantly increasing their exercise, and they're doing they're getting yelled at and fat shamed a lot in the process, right? And so they're getting yelled at. They're doing extreme exercise 2 hours a day, by the way, 2 hours a day minimum of exercise, a minimum of 30% reduction in calories, and consistently. There was no intermittent fasting on this system, right? And so what happened was over these 7 months, they lost 127 pounds on average, right? Woohoo, it worked. But here's what they didn't tell you. The average reduction in basal metabolic rate, based on what we were talking about here, when they reduced the calories in, they were trying to increase calories out through exercise, ultimately their basal metabolic rate drifted down. It's called metabolic drift. It drifted down by about 800 calories per day. By 800 calories per day less they are burning at rest and while they sleep over a 24-hour period. So 6 years later, on the follow-up with the study, what did they find?
Everyone gained their weight back.
Everybody had gained the weight back. And one of the contestants was interviewed, and they were asked, why isn't there ever a Biggest Loser reunion show? And that's because we're all fat again. Right? All of us, every single one of my friends that was on the show, every single one of us is. But we walk away from watching it on TV going, see, it's just about eating less and exercising more. And that's all I need to do. Guys, any decent diet and exercise program will help you get some fat off. How many of you have done some other program where you have lost pounds before this? Yeah. Any decent diet and exercise will get some body weight or some fat off of you. That's not the problem. What's the big problem? It's not getting it off. It's keeping it off. And that's why to do isogenics. That's why to do isogenics. Not to get it off. It's to keep it off. This is the only way that I know of, that I've seen consistently, when people do it right, keeps it off. But not if they treat it like a diet and they just do the shake days and that's all they do. Because now it's great, better nutrition and more complete nutrition, no doubt, than what people would get on some other type of diet counting program. However, it's still it's a reduction in calories. Even though you're adding nutrient density, it's a reduction in calories over a long period of time. You will get some results, but you will still have a reduction typically in your metabolic rate down to match that amount of lowered intake, right? So the intermittency, here's the key. The intermittency of high calorie, low calorie, high calorie, low calorie, high calorie, low calorie will naturally get you into the caloric deficit without any counting of anything. No weighing of any food, none of it. No portion controlling, no smaller plates, none of the having to do any of that stuff, but will prevent the metabolic drift. The metabolic drift will not happen when you do it this way, right? Now here's the next piece is, well, then why not just do water fasting? Why don't I just, have tea and coffee and bone broth, like you probably heard out there? How many of you heard you can just do it this way? Tea, coffee, bone broth. Can you get a result? Can it last? Potentially, yes, it can. However, do you want to get all the benefits that you could possibly be getting through intermittent fasting? Or do you only want to be getting some of the benefits? Because what I know is, with the brilliance of this system, with John Anderson, who developed this way back before anybody was talking about intermittent fasting, way back. He developed this, guys, in 1998. It didn't become a company till 2002. But he was incorporating the intermittent fasting before anyone was ever talking about it. It's just started to get more of the rage in the media, right, in the last couple years. And then you have friends coming to you going, hey, have you heard of intermittent fasting? How many of you had a friend come to you and say that? And I'm just like, are you serious? You've been watching me for 7 years, do that? And now you're trying to tell me something that I don't know? You think I don't know about? Like, this is what I've been doing for the last 7 years. So, but anyways, you want to get the best of both worlds, right? So the best of getting all those benefits, like preventing the metabolic drift. So maintaining your basal metabolic rate while you continue to be a fat burning machine, right? But you also want to make sure that you're helping your body detoxify itself in the process of the fasting. Because this is what's not going to happen with the bone broth, with the green tea and the coffee, although those are good things to use during a fast. You will not get the nutritional detoxification support to run phase 1, 2, and 3 of detox without all the right minerals, trace elements, inner heart fillet gel, aloe vera, all the botanicals, and all the other things that are beautifully put into by our master formulator, John Anderson, into our Cleanse for Life, that are supporting the body in its detoxification capacity. Because somehow you got to, as you're burning fat, the toxins are flooding out of the fat into your circulation. And guess what's going to happen if you don't have a mechanism in place to be able to pick apart those toxins, break them down, and get them out of your body? Guess where the toxins are going to go?
Right back.
Right back into this, right? Any of you ever heard of obesogens? It's a category of toxins that generate obesity in the body. They literally cause you to create new fat cells and to keep the ones you have and to reabsorb toxins back into fat cells. That is the American Society of Endocrinologists. This was discovered back in 2007, 2008. So these toxins actually make us store fat. So it's a little bit safer to incarcerate toxins in fat than to let it freely circulate throughout your body and affect all your vital organs, right? So it's a protective mechanism by the body. But as you're fasting and all these toxins and the fat are getting broken down and flooding into your circulation, all the levels are rising. This is the first phase to being able to detoxify your body. But if you don't have the right nutrition coming in while this is happening and leading up to the fasting day with the shake days, and then after you have really depleted your body of all these toxin hunters you've been using to break these toxins down and get them out of your body, to then replenish the body after the cleansing with the right nutrition, then you're not going to be able to fully detoxify yourself. And so those toxins will go back into other cells of the body, back into fat cells. They inflame the body and could potentially create some negative side effects in you if you're not supporting the body's ability to detoxify itself. And so that's not just what you do on the cleanse day either. It's what you do leading up to the cleanse day and what you do on it and then what you do after it. That's so brilliant. I'm blown away that he developed this before the turn of the century. And now these types of things are just starting to get talked about more and more with other companies and other people that you see out there on the internet. John Anderson was light years ahead of the science. He's formulated 2,300 products for 600 companies over 30 years. I mean, he needs to be talked about more in Isagenix, because if it wasn't for him, none of us would be here. Because no matter what, if you share this with other people as just to share because you love it and want to help other people, or you want to do it as a legitimate business, the first step, you got to love this. You got to love the nutrition. You got to understand, what is it about this? Like, how is this different? Right? And when you know that, like I know that, like Lindsay knows that, like some of the rest of you on the call know that, it fires you up. You're like, oh my gosh, like everybody needs to know this. And then if you can couple that with this, right, to continue to be a product of those products and be a walking billboard, people are going to be like, what are you doing? You look amazing. How many of you had compliments like that? How awesome does that feel? Right?
Hey, Ryan, I had someone ask a question in the chat, which I really, really like, because both of us are longtime product users here. So this is a great question. I know how often I do it. You know how often you do it. But the question was, if you've been on the program for a while, how many let's say you're at your goal, okay? How many cleanse days would you do? And would you do single versus double cleanse days?
Yeah, great question. So that's one other thing that I love about this is the flexibility of this system. So there's not, like, let's say that I ran out of shoes and Lindsay's like, oh, hey, here, you can borrow my shoes. And then I start wearing Lindsay's shoes around for the week, right? And I wear a size 12 in men. Let's say that she wears a size 9 in women, right? How is my foot going to feel by the end of this week? Crammed into that thing. I'm going to have bunions and blisters and it's going to be all cramped up, right? It's going to be awful, right? So the same shoe isn't going to fit both of us the same way. The coolest thing with Isagenix, we can all use the same products. However, it doesn't mean we're all trying to fit into the same shoe, because we can all use them in different ways, different amounts, different timing, different ways, right? That we can use them, plus combining that with our other food that we're eating, right? So I love that with the cleansing, that there's different ways for different people to do this. What I have found personally that works amazing for me is I do what I call time compressed eating. I've been doing this for years. And it is one of the biggest factors that led me, I'd already had great results from here to here. But what took me from here over to here over the last few years was mostly the time compressed eating. And so on the shake days, I reduced the time in which I eat to about noon to 8 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., somewhere in the middle, right? But it's basically, I'm eating within about 8 hours. And then I'm not eating for the other 16 hours, 8 of which is sleeping. And then some of it's at the end of the day and some of it's at the first half of the day, right? So it's so easy and fits into my lifestyle in such a way I can still eat dinner with my family every day, try to do it around an early dinner, like 6 p.m. is a little better than a later one for many different physiologic reasons, but I can still do that. And my kids are at school during the day, so they don't know, I'm not eating breakfast or lunch with them anyways, right? And so it doesn't disrupt my lifestyle in any way whatsoever. However, it gives me an extra 4 hours of pure high-level fat burning every single day of the week. Now let's just say I did it 6 days of the week. So 4 extra hours of true deep fasting per day times 6 days of the week. And one day I'd say I don't do it. That 6 times 4 is what? 24. Did that sound familiar? 24 hours? That is 24 hours that's a 1-day fast, even without doing a 1-day fast. I'll still use some of the Cleanse for Life in the morning when I wake up because I've been fasting for 12 hours at that point, and it takes about 12 hours after the last time that you ate for you to transition to deep fasting, right? Where the toxins are at a super high level. Now you got to help your body to break them down during those next 4 hours. So I use 4 ounces of that first thing in the morning. And then now I'm getting that detox support every single day. I'm chipping away at it. I'm chipping away at that fat every single day. And I get a full day fast without doing a full day fast. So for a person that's like, I just couldn't do, I couldn't keep doing isogenics because I just couldn't do the fasts. I just couldn't, it's just, I got to eat every day. Well, what if there was a way that we could get you a 1-day fast without having to do a full 1-day fast, right? Now, I'm not saying that everyone on this call, listen here, I'm not saying that this is the way for everybody on this call, because what I just got done talking about with the different size shoe, right? This has worked incredibly well for me. But guess what I also still do? I still do a 1.5 to 2-day fast at least once a month. At least once a month. So I'm this lean, and I still do daily time compressed eating, which means intermittent fasting for the rest of the time during every day. But I do a 2-day deep fast every single month, right? Sometimes a couple times in a month, but usually at least once in a month. So you have to find the ways that work for you when it comes to the cleansing. Some people are going to thrive with a 1-day fast, and they don't want to do the time compressed eating. They want to wake up and eat, and then eat in the middle of the day and eat towards the end of the day. And they don't want to compress it, and that's fine. But they love doing the 1-day or the 2-day deep cleansing fast, and they get great results with that. I'll tell you that if you want to have the best well-oiled machine of a body and you want to crush it, you'll do some combination of all of it. You'll do some of the time compressed eating every day, or at least 6 days of the week or a few days of the week. And you'll also do a 1-day or a 2-day deep fast. And that may be 1 to 4 times a month. All right, but you'll figure that out over time. But that's why no one should quit this because they feel like they can't handle the fasting. Because that's such a critical piece of what we were talking about before, eating nothing some of the time, then eating till you're satisfied the rest of the time. That's what makes you be able to keep it off in the long run. But with isogenics, the brilliance is we also get the detox support. And you're not going to get that with just water fasting, bone broth fasting, green tea, coffee, whatnot.
I love it. Hey, Brian, I have a lot of people over here in the chat who, some have struggled and whatnot. I feel like you were saying, one of the biggest struggles is people kind of knowing where that level is, like what level they should be eating at, so you totally explained it, but, I have some people who try to restrict so much when they're doing isogenics because they think it's a diet.
Yeah.
that they will not be able to lose weight. And this is what I always say, you're not eating enough because this actually isn't a diet. You need to eat more. But for people who aren't doctors like yourself, how do we set appropriate calorie goals for people so we don't drive them into too much of a deficit where they are having that problem where they're not losing because they've driven that drift too far down? How, for us people who aren't doctors, how do we find the best fit for our client that way?
Yep. Good question. And I struggled with that in helping people because I've never counted a calorie in my life, ever. I never will. I never have, never will. Right. And that's why I love Isagenix. Right. You know, I try to help people in doing that for them because they were just like adamant that I just need to know. I need to know the calories. Right. And so I tried to dig into that and give them some advice with it. However, I knew that as soon as I gave the advice, it could be completely wrong because there's so many different variables. Because this is what people think, well, a calorie is a calorie. I can eat Twinkies and lose weight if I eat few enough of them. Well, here's the real question people should be asking is not, you know, is it all just about calories? The real question is, are all calories equally fattening? Right? And how do different calories create different effects on how my body metabolism works? Because some types of calories can actually increase your metabolism, while others won't have any effect, any increase in it at all, right? And so there's so many different variables far beyond even that I literally just won't do it with people anymore. Because as soon as I were to give them a number and then they're trying to shoot for that, it could be totally wrong. And so this is what we know is that if you are doing a day in which your caloric intake's down like 300 calories or so, like a cleanse day, and then the next day you're eating 1,500, 2,000 calories, regardless of how much you're eating, guess what is happening over the course of the 2 days combined? If you add the 300 plus the 2,000, and that's 2,300, and let's say your basal metabolic rate, you know, is 2,500 every day, even on the fasting day. In fact, what we know is that some people think your basal metabolic rate drops when you don't eat. Guess what? The opposite happens. Increases by about 14%. But guess what happens when you reduce your caloric intake all the time over many months? It reduces up to 50%. Diets will not work. They have 99% long-term failure rate. That means they don't work, okay? All right. So this is why you don't need to count the calories, because you're going to be in around a 2,500 calorie deficit, let's say, you know, over the course of a day when you fasted and the next day you ate. Even if you are like, well, I overeat on the next day, who cares? Because if we add it to the day before where you were down at 300 calories, your total over the 2 days is a major deficit with no reduction in metabolic rate. Is this not? This should blow your mind, because this is the reason, the major reason. There's many reasons, but this is the major reason that no type of calorie restricting diet, if that's the focus, will ever work, no matter what it is. It'll work short term, and someone's like, well, yeah, but I did this and it worked. For how long? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? No. Right? So that's why I just won't do it. I will never give someone a calorie amount as long as they're doing the intermittent fasting, though. Because here's the thing, if you don't do the intermittent fasting, you have to count your calories. You have to be able to make sure you're in a deficit. If you do intermittent fasting, you never have to count anything ever again. So what should you do on the shake days? Eat till you're satisfied. Eat till you feel good. And don't worry about it. Only if you're doing the fasting days, though, because if you decide you're just going to eat till you feel good every day and you never do the fasting day, you'll plump up.
Well, I think everyone's loving this information. I mean, the chat is blowing up and just total excitement, because I think this is truly, you know, the kind of information that we all want to hear. And I love that it's just coming from your perspective with years and years of science and study and experience. So we really appreciate that. I don't think I see any other questions in the chat, but I have one more. What do you feel like is I think I can guess based on what you've said so far, but what is like our crown product that is just so special to you? I mean, I'm gonna guess it's Cleanse just because of how you've talked about it. But is there, like, if you had to maybe pick another one, if it's not Cleanse, tell us. If it's Cleanse, tell us why you love Cleanse, and then give us your secondary one that you just love and why you love it so much.
Well, if I was stranded on a desert island,
yes.
Which product? The shake. Because at some point I still got to eat, right? And this is great, but it's not necessarily food, right? We could say that some of the nutrients in there provide nourishment and some sort of a functional food, but this is more of a food. So if I was stranded on a desert island, I'd have to say I'm gonna go with the shake, because here's the other thing that's the big problem where people just say, well, I'm just gonna do intermittent fasting with just water. That could be a really big problem if you're not flooding the body with the right essential nutrients and all the minerals, trace elements, and the other key nutrients that are in like we have in the shake at the levels and amounts that we need them to be able to help your body detoxify when you do the fast, and to replenish the body with the nutrients needed to rebuild up the levels of the toxin hunters like glutathione and many others inside the cells, so that you can continue to detoxify yourself. So when you manipulate when you eat through time compressed eating or doing 1 day, 2 day fast, the what you eat when you do eat, the what you eat when you do eat becomes absolutely critical. Absolutely critical, because you can't just decide, well, I'm going to eat McDonald's multiple times a day on my shake days, and every once in a while have a shake, and then I'm going to do the fasting, because that's where I really think the big results are, right? You will wreck yourself. You will absolutely wreck yourself, and you will build a McDonald's hamburger patty bicep in butt muscle, okay? Because it will build into you and your skin and every other part of your body, right? So not only will it not help you detoxify, it will add more toxins to you, but it also will build into all the cells of your entire body and age you faster and inflame you, right? So when you're doing intermittent fasting, the what you eat during the times in which you do eat becomes critical. So I'd have to say the shake. Plus, this is the last thing. I don't know how much longer we have, but we're probably wrapping it up, right? So I want to end it with this here, unless there's something else after this we can answer a question. But when I had my fitness and rehab business, let's say someone had back pain that I was working with. And there was some research that said, okay, if you do these 15 exercises 3 times a day, it's a 100% cure for back pain. Would it be smart of me to give those 15 exercises 3 times a day to my patient? Probably not. Because who in here would be like, I'm in 15 exercises 3 times a day in the midst of my crazy busy life where I'm juggling my 2 jobs and my 5 kids and my volunteering at church and all these other things that I do and my social life. I'm in for 15 exercises 3 times a day forever. Like, no one's going to do it. And that's what I found in my business is like, I literally had to give people 1 exercise to start with and see if they do it consistently. And I'd say, do it just twice a day. 1 thing. And then if they come back and they were successful, I could give them a second thing, right? And so I had to incrementally, build up on them. So here's the thing with bringing it back to nutrition is it's not just what you should do based on the science. We have the perfect science. This is exactly what you should do to transform your body and maximize your health and longevity forever. This is what the science says. It's proven fact now. If it's something that is proven, but it's not something people will do, then the should do doesn't matter. Does that make sense? And that is why I love, one of the many reasons why I love Isagenix. Because right here, I don't have to plan, grocery store shop multiple times a day or week. I don't have to spend hours in the kitchen. I don't have to become my own nutritionist, chef, baker, cooker, if that's a word. I don't have to become any of that and I got a meal in 30 seconds that actually tastes great and satisfies me and provides my body all the essential nutrients that I need. This is something that I can do and will do forever, right? Whereas the incredibly complex things that other people are going to tell you to do, right? The food scale, 6 to 8 times a day, all day, multiple times a week, prepping in the kitchen to create all these meals, right? Everything else they say you got to do, all the complicated stuff. That's the other, getting back to the very first question that you asked me. People think it's all about calories, number one, and just eat less all the time. And number two, they think it's got to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be complicated. What's less complicated than not eating for a day or two or part of a day? What's less complicated than opening this water ice blend? Not much, right? And then the third misconception that people have, to finish it here, is that people think that getting healthy and staying healthy long-term has to be costly. Let me tell you, it does not have to be costly. I worked with a registered dietitian and nutritionist, and I said, I am going to recreate the shake. We are going to recreate this through regular whole food, because I want to see how cheap we can make it and how low of calorie we can make it. And we worked for weeks on this project. I'm kind of nuts, okay? I'll admit it. We worked for weeks, and Becca thought I was crazy. Like I wouldn't come to bed till after midnight. It was nuts. I was like, I'm gonna recreate the shake, and I'm gonna make it the best superfoods in the world. And I'm gonna do it in whole food form. The lowest calorie count we could get was 800 calories.
Oh my gosh, you guys, did you hear that? That
This is 240.
mind-blowing.
With way more nutrition, even, because we couldn't get the trace minerals and the trace elements that John Anderson has from his underground mine, right? So we couldn't get all those spark plugs of life. And what was the cost? The cheapest we could get it, the cheapest, was $16.20, because the dietitian weighed out all the food and calculated the cost per ounce. I mean, literally, we were nuts. And we recreated the shake. $16.20, 800 calories is the best we could get.
Oh my gosh.
And all the food prep that would require, and all the grocery shopping, in the midst of your already crazy, busy, overwhelmed life, with all the balls you're juggling. You see why diets fail 99% of the time? Right? But who did the dietitian, nutritionist, personal trainer, and everyone giving you this advice keep blaming?
You.
It's never their fault. So as an exercise science professor, let's say I have 100 students in my class, and I give an exam at the end of this. So we'll call it Obesity 101. And so I give an exam at the end of this course, final exam. And let's say that 99 of them get an A, and one of them gets an F. Okay, whose fault? Whose fault is it for the F? Well, the student. It's the student, right? Because 99 of them got an A. Okay, now let's flip it. Let's say that 99 of them fail and one of them gets an A. Whose fault?
Teacher.
Mine. That's on me. I better create a curve here or something, right? I got to do something about it, because I gave an awful exam or I didn't teach them well. But when 99% of diets fail long-term, 2 to 5 years, that's what the research shows. There's no doubt about it. Every dietitian, nutritionist, personal trainer, whoever's giving the advice, they always blame the victim. They never look at themselves, because they think, well, this is a true equation, but they don't understand the intricacies and nuances of the equation, because there's too many false assumptions, right? Guys, we have the best system on the planet, and it is mind-boggling to me that it was developed over 20 years ago. I mean, telling you, he's light years ahead of anything else out there. He was the rogue. He was the renegade that people were like, what are you doing? Fasting? Are you crazy? Your metabolic rate will drop. No, it doesn't. The research later said no, right? He knew what he was doing. So you guys are in great hands, all of you that are on here with Isagenix. You're in great hands with Lindsay, Jeremy, Tanya, Trudy, and Nathan, all the leaders that are on the call. I'm grateful that you allowed my group to be on the call as well. I know a lot of my group you guys can wave or give a chat in the chat box to be on the call as well. And, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And, you know, we have no financial connection. Lindsay and I, we're not anywhere in each other's organization when it comes to the business of Isagenix. We've got no financial connection, but she helps us and we help her. And a rising tide raises all the ships, right? Isagenix is a beautiful company. You don't see this right now, what's happening in most companies out there. You just don't. So thanks so much for having me on the call. Hopefully it's good value for people, and that, you know, write in the chat box something that new that you learned that blew your mind. Write something in the chat box that blew your mind, that made you see this from a different perspective, that you're going to use in your life to help you move forward.
You guys, pour the love onto Dr. Ryan. Okay, you know what a nerd I am right now, Ryan? I have like tears in my eyes. I have chills on my arm. This is how crazy excited I get about this nutrition with him. You guys, love on him in the chat. He's incredible. He just gave you so much incredible content. And we are just blessed to have you. And I love you and your wife and everything that you give to this amazing community. And we're just all so grateful. So look at that. They're just they're blowing it up for you. I love that. And thank you so much, you guys, for joining us. I know a lot of people have already asked me. I'm getting like texts. My phone is blowing up. Is this recorded? Is this recorded? Is this recorded? It's recorded. And I'll put it on my Vimeo channel tonight. You guys can share it across Isagenix. And thank you again, Dr. Ryan. We really appreciate it. And gosh, we have so many people asking questions. We may even have to do like a part B or something, but we love you. Thank you so much.
I'm all for it. Awesome.
Thanks, Ryan.
See you guys. Thanks
Have
for
a good day.